Greetings, dear friends. We welcome you to the international discussion on Creative Society TV.
Greetings, everyone. Climate disasters, military conflicts, famine, and water scarcity. Most of us perceive this information as stories which we don't relate to ourselves until it touches us personally. Only eyewitnesses of these disastrous events and people who faced atrocities consumer format know that these are not the stories, but the reality of millions of people, the reality of the world we live in. And today we all need to wake up and honestly look at our world in order to prevent disasters taking our lives and lives of people we love.
On May 7, 2022, the International Forum Global Crisis, We Are People, We Want to Lead, took place. It's an unprecedented event organized by volunteers from 180 countries. Facts and figures, statistical data, and opinions of specialist scientists. The forum shed light to such pressing issues of our society as the true cause of climate change, inhuman living conditions of refugees, human trafficking, violence, and human slavery, and so much more. And most importantly, during the forum, the only real way out and solution of all this crisis was out. And the happy part of it is that it was simultaneously translated into 100 languages so that all people from all over the world could hear the truth. Dear viewers, we suggest that you watch this forum. It will change your life because you will know the truth about the world we're living in.
And these are the topics which exactly we will discuss in our today's discussion. So before we begin, I would like to introduce our speakers. Ostін Девід Mors, Masters of Social Work from USA. Greetings, Ostін. Thank you for being with us.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Thank you. Also, I would like to welcome Rікі Línettt, volunteer of the Creative Society Project from Mexico. Greetings, Rікі.
Pleasure to be here.
Thank you for joining us. And I would like to say, dear viewers, if voice topics don't leave you indifferent, join us in the international discussions on the Creative Society platform. You can contact us at info@creativesociety.com or at all official Creative Society social media accounts like Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and so on. So I would like to ask the first question to Rікі. Could you please share what in the forum, which topic touched you the most?
Pretty much everything. I've been a volunteer with the Creative Society since last year, and I watched, we took part in the global crisis, Time for the Truth, that happened on December 4th, 2021. And, it's really tragic that when we have these forums and when we have these conferences, that we see more and more dangers arising to humanity. And it's really sad. So we have refugees, we have child trafficking, we have the climate change, we have scientists coming out, risking everything just to come out and speak with us to tell the truth. And why should they even under this kind of conditions of telling the truth? It should be an obligation to tell the truth, but it's not. So, pretty much everything affected me. The war that's happening, are members of the Creative Society affected by it, some dying to put the forum together. It's really tragic to know that we as humanity can't be free people. We as humanity have to keep pushing and pushing and pushing just to try to be free. And, this forum is another eye-opener because it showed more information that I hadn't seen before. And normally I see a lot of the stuff that we produce, right, before we put it in the forum. But there were some things I didn't see. And it really is bothersome. It is really disturbing that we live in these kind of conditions when it could be easily solved. So pretty much everything, it's upsetting that we're here today discussing these issues when they could have been solved 2 years ago. you know, and that's bothersome to me. But pretty much everything in the forum bothered me. The only joy that I saw out of the entire forum was building the creative society. That's the only joy that I could see out of it. All the other stuff is the total destruction, hunger, pain, rape, people selling their body parts just for the sake of a bit of cash. You know, it doesn't make any sense anymore. None of this stuff, we are human beings, but we act like animals. This is wrong. This is, you know, on so many levels, this is wrong, you know, and, but that's what we're here today. We're here to have this discussion today and tell people what we as volunteers, how it affected us and what we can see and how we can see what kind of change that we can see that's coming to humanity. Because I really see the creative society being implemented, but I see a lot of obstacles for us because the powers that be, they're going to try to stop us, but they themselves know the truth that we have to unite to do anything because they're involved in this too. Their lives are at risk as well. They won't escape. They can think it all day long, but they will not escape what's coming. None of us will if we don't unite.
Yeah, that's really true. And you know, when you said like that you see that some participants of Creative Society project, they also suffer because of some conflicts and so on. I just thought like so many people in the world suffer, and actually this project is for whole humanity. So now you understand the pain of all people, no matter in which part of the world they are, and understand that all these issues can be solved. So that's really something which is so important to bring to every person. Thank you so much. Thank you for your feedback, for your opinion. And Ostін, I would like to ask you this question. Which topic in the forum touched you the most?
I would say all of them were upsetting to watch and to think about. These issues have been going on, and the people who are there supposed to support these people are not. And these people are being failed by our governments, by the organizations supposed to help. And it's sad to see this happen over and over. And honestly, that's what kind of led me to the Creative Society, is I was tired of constantly seeing crisis after crisis and feeling like it's never handled appropriately. And that the underlying factor that's motivating people is money and not a desire to actually help people, which is frustrating as a citizen to sit here and watch. And I believe that the Creative Society is the solution to that by working together, taking the perspective of experts and by sharing ideals and values with each other.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for sharing. And now we would like to present one video from the forum which touches on the topic which you just now discussed.
Perhaps you may think it will never happen to you. While those people have been given all the help they needed and they are now safe. And indeed, there is now a huge number of organizations and foundations dedicated to helping people. The largest of them, the United Nations, is positioning itself as the guarantor of peace and security of humankind. For decades, we have been hearing beautiful slogans and promises from high rostrums. If you listen to these loud statements, it may seem that we will solve all our problems. There will be no more poverty, no more hunger, no more wars, and we will all live well. After all, there are over 100 international organizations working under the aegis of the United Nations to solve the world's problems. For every new problem, a new organization is created. Every year, UN member states pay huge contributions to these organizations. In fact, this is money from our pockets. These are the taxes we pay to the state. Between 2010 and 2020, according to official data, the 44 UN organizations alone raised $540.4 billion. Contributions to the UN organizations have increased by 58% over 10 years. But let's take a look at what we have achieved over this period of time. The largest amount of money today goes to solving the problem of hunger. The main UN organizations to tackle this problem are the World Food Program, WFP, and the Food and Agriculture Organization, FAO. They have raised $79.8 billion over the last 10 years. Current estimates are that almost 690 million people are hungry in the world and 750 million people are severely food insecure. The Food and Agriculture Organization itself predicts an even greater increase in hunger by 2030. 841 million people. So, the World Food Program is projecting funding needs for 2022 already at $13.9 billion. So they say, there will be more hungry people, so they need more money. It is a legitimate question. How is it that, with ever-increasing funding, the problem itself is only becoming worse? Let's look at another problem, the refugee problem. The number of refugees has doubled over the past 10 years, comprising 82.4 million in 2020. The United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees, UNHCR, deals with refugee issues. Over the past 10 years, funding for the organization has increased by 56%, reaching $4.8 billion in 2020. Let's look at what kind of help they provide to people. One area of refugee assistance is shelter. On their website, they state, the main part of our protection mission is to guarantee access to proper shelter in humanitarian emergencies. We provide tents, distribute plastic sheeting, and develop strategies, tools, and guidance in emergency situations, and provide emergency assistance to those who need it most. On cold nights or hot days, our help can be the deciding factor between life and death. In an emergency, tarpaulin tents are an adequate short-term measure. But people live in such tent camps for years in inhumane conditions with no hope of the future. Due to the lack of even basic sanitation conditions, people die of infectious diseases. Who benefits from the problem not being solved? As long as there is a problem, there is funding. And if the problem is solved, there will be no funding and therefore no organizations. As long as there is a financial interest, as long as someone makes money from it, no one will solve the problem. The UN itself is very much like a transnational corporation in its structure. There is a parent company that coordinates and manages the activities of its other companies, but each brand is a separate business entity. In 2020, more than $3.7 billion was spent to maintain the UN bureaucracy on staff and director salaries, health insurance, holidays, business class flights, and other expenses. The planned expenditures for the renovation of the Palace of Nations alone in Switzerland, where the UN headquarters is located, is $871 million. With this money, 174,000 houses could be built using 3D printing technology. How many refugee families could benefit from this housing? But alas, building homes for those in need is not a priority for their aid. What do we have in the end? Numerous organizations that we have entrusted with the responsibility of solving serious problems of humanity turn out, on closer examination, to be merely business structures. it becomes obvious that there is a direct interest in the growth and aggravation of problems. In other words, it is beneficial for someone that people starve, struggle to survive, and make wars with each other. And that is the cynicism of the consumerist format of society. Creating the illusion of solving a problem without the real goal of eradicating it is a principle of the consumerist format. Under such conditions, it is tantamount to anesthesia for a fatal illness. And even closing or reforming some organizations or firing some individuals will not save the situation, because new ones will come in their place and do the same thing, making money off our lives. Today, because of our tacit support for the consumerist format, we are all on the precipice. The rapid escalation of all crises will soon bring us all, without exception, to the brink of disaster. What kind of help will we get? A piece of tarpaulin for shelter and a couple of bottles of water?
This is truly sad. All this truth voiced out during the conference in this video as well just shows how sad it all is. How only the miserable amount of all these funds go to the supplies and all other needs to support the refugees. And, I'd like to ask you, Rikki, now about, your impression on how you see, and also, when you learn the truth about the refugees and, the way they're living, the living conditions, what it was like for you. And, it's kind of unbelievable, right? Seeing all this in the 21st century when we should have never had this issue, all these conditions, people are living and experiencing. Could you please share your opinion?
Okay, what we see in that video is degradation of human life. That's what you see in that video. Where's the money was one of the discussions you guys just recently had. Where's the money, right? You see in those videos, they're measuring the child's arm. It's not measuring his arm to see if he's malnutrition. It's measuring his arm to see how long it takes him to die. That's what it is. That's all I get from that. And you see the people laying in the beds covered in mosquitoes, just hungry, just a little bit of food. That's all he wants. That's all he wants. That's all he asked for. That's it. Nothing more than that. And all these billions and billions of dollars flowing into these organizations to solve these problems. Like in the video it said, it's not profitable to solve them, right? This is sad. When I see things like this reminds me of how badly, if we don't change, we're headed to a complete destruction. And who's to say that we don't deserve it? Because we've allowed it to happen for so long, and now it's so out of control. And I was so upset. I was so angry that we live in these places with these names. They call Mexico, they call the United States, they call us many different names of many different nations, and we're only one nation as a humanity, right? And when he tells me this, I'm thinking to myself, Rikki, tell him about the created society. So what do? I continued to, I looked at my husband and I said, we need to tell him about the created society. So I told him, okay? And it meant everything to me. It felt so good to tell him about a different way of us living, a different world of us living, more freedom, prosperity, all the things that belong to us. These things, they belong to us. It's not, people rob us, steal from us, kill us, forbade us. And for what? Look at us. We treat each other so inhumanely. In the video that you just saw, there's children sitting in the street. One of the little boys is standing over at maybe his brother or sister. It doesn't say the gender or show the gender of the child. And everyone's walking past this kid. Not one person is handing him any food. Not one person is handing him any water. What have we become? And in these nations that they say, well, I'm suffering too. Why should I help him? He's a kid, for God's sakes, you know? It's a disturbing. I'm sorry for you know, being so over emotional about this, because this is headed toward all of us. None of us is going to escape this. If we don't convert over to the creative society and change our ways, change it to a better form, we all face this. I don't want to see this happen to my kids or my neighbors' kids. This is terrifying. But this is we're headed to this. If you think for one moment that money is going to sustain your country, that these elitists have a better plan for your country when their ultimate goal is for themselves, you know what? You might as well just toss that dream out of your head, because it's not real. It ain't going to happen. You know, the last thing that's on these elitist minds, these leaders' minds, is the prosperity of other people. That's the last thing. You are pawns in a game. And I'll tell you, you're being played perfectly well. And that's what's happening. As you can see, that's what's happening all around the world. What have we become? I mean, look at us. We're sitting in here in this meeting where we live in moderate style homes. We work jobs. We do our best to get this information out. We do our best to take care of our families and everything. And we're doing our best. Only to look outside in other nations to see that people are doing their best as well, but little by little by little, their best is being drained from them. They're losing hope, you know, hope in a better world. And, you know, when I told my neighbor about the Creative Society, my hope is that he'll see something good out of this, that he'll pursue it, you know? But if his need to take care of his family is more overwhelming, the chances are that he won't even focus on the Creative Society. He's going to try to focus on saving his family. So my hope is that when people watch our discussions and they watch these conferences, or they watch our TikTok videos, or they watch us on YouTube, they say, well, what can I do? You know, how can I help? What can I do? This has to change. It doesn't matter if it's not me right now, it could be tomorrow, you know? So everything, it affects me deeply, because I see it. I see it in our videos. I see it, my neighbor, you know? I just see this problem growing even here in Mexico. You know, there's not even words to really express, other than if we don't change the format that we live in, two things are going to kill us: either war or the climate. That's the truth. War or the climate. Because there's going to be one type of war. It could be a nuclear war, it could be whatever it is, but there would be a war over food. It would be people fighting to survive, to feed their children. That would be a war that none of us will escape if we do not change this format we live in. And then we have the climate. And if we can come together and build the Creative Society, then we could draw scientists together and we could fix this problem. You see what I'm saying? They both can be diverted. All we have to do is unite. Both of them could be divided, but be diverted. I'm sorry for taking so much time, but it has to be said. Something has to be said. You know, there's a lot of feeling inside of there. There's a lot of feeling flowing out, because you see the pain in people's eyes. And if you can't look into a person's eyes and see their pain, then who the hell are you? You know?
Yeah, thank you so much, Ricky. And it's true, you know, from your words, it's kind of, we created artificial borders, we created some artificial divisions between people, but it's in fact in our hands, you know. You're really staying a human in every possible situation, in every condition. And it's coming out that only in our hand to change the situation, because it's choice of every person, right? Either you are in place and you are acting as a human and caring about person, no matter what nationality, what else is there artificial, so to say, but you're caring really about person. And when we're talking about society as a whole, it's in our hand that we are creating such relationships, this new format of relationships between people, when we are sure that in every situation, every person will be able to act as human. As you said, not will be worried to save own life with by any means, but really to live as a human. So thank you so much for expressing that. And I would like just to ask you, Ostін, that what we discussed just now, right? There's so many issues, and still there are, you know, many people who coming questions. So how long will we shift this responsibility for someone? You know, what people really need to wake up to understand that we need to do that. Like, we can't wait for some structures, for some organization, but we people can do it only.
Mhm. Yeah, I think it begins by having these conversations, by talking to people, by taking perspective of maybe someone who disagrees or sees the world differently. That's the only way, in my opinion, that we're going to start getting some traction with this stuff and start making some positive pro-social change. I feel like, my experience, at least here in Utah and in my home city, I recognize that our homeless population is only growing. And this winter, when I went to drop off some donations, I noticed that all around the homeless shelter, there were encampments because there was not enough room at the end for them. And furthermore, that all of these people are just packed in there, and some of them are sleeping on the floor because there's not enough space. They only have a few things to keep them warm. Even here in a developed country, are we facing these issues as well? And sometimes I'm like, what in the world is going on? It's 2022. Shouldn't we have this stuff figured out by now? Do we not have the technology to help these people 3D printing houses? I mean, the forum even showed that you could 3D print organs now. And we have all this amazing technology, and it's not getting used. And it's not being used to solve the problem. So it just continues and perpetuates. But I think our greatest strength as a group of volunteers is that we are not motivated by money. We're motivated by something far greater than money, the benefit and welfare of all humans.
Yeah, definitely. And thank you so much, Austin, for sharing with us, all this. And truly, all the stuff that you guys were talking about is so important. It's so important today to really follow this wake-up call and just tell ourselves that enough is enough. We can't just even looking at people who are suffering without even knowing them who are suffering, not just in Africa or the part of the world that are, have all these financial issues, but also, as you said, Austin, in this, civilized, more developed country as USA, this issue is, still exists, and, and as it was voiced out before, unless there is a problem, there is someone benefiting from the problem. So it won't be solved in the type of society we're living today, which is called consumer format of society. So it's definitely, there is only one way out, is building a creative society all together. But before also doing that, the information of uniting around creative society needs to be spreading, to entire world. And this discussions is also part of it that we're doing, and trying to reach to more people, telling them that there is a way out, and millions of people today are uniting already, so that creative society becomes our reality as soon as possible. Yeah, and since also you shared your motives of why you joined creative society, why you became part of it, why you became volunteer, I'd also like to ask the same question to Rikki, because from her, emotional speech, I definitely can see how much she cares about all these issues, how much of human she is, and I would like to hear more about your motives of becoming creative society volunteer. Rikki, please.
Yeah, I decided to be, I joined last year. Jason and Bill got me in. we had a conversation. And before I joined the Creative Society, I didn't know what to do. You know, you have the 3 buttons, the little clicks, little boxes you can choose from on the website. And when I finally made the decision to do something, I wanted to do something because I could see there was a change happening, and the climate is changing, and things are happening here in Mexico. It's getting hotter, it's getting humid, and before it wasn't humid, you know? And so I decided to join because, I care about people. I don't want to see people suffer. It's terrible to watch people suffer. It's terrible to watch immigrants flood to the border just to get a piece of liberty, and which they think is liberty. We all know there's no liberty there, Real liberty is no borders. Yes, real liberty is a home for every person. Like Austin was saying, we have 3D printing. We can print houses. We can give people homes. What's the holdup? Literally, what's the holdup? People are waiting at the border. If you go and look at the American border, you can drive down to Texas. Maybe you guys can't, but you go down to Texas and check it out for yourself. My neighbor told me there's a lot of people there. A lot of people. And I guess they smuggled him in or they snuck him in. I don't know how they did it, but normally coyotes, they do that. They'll get you in, but with a large price. After the coyotes get you in there, they literally dump you in a desert. They dump you only to be caught. I joined the Creative Society because I care about people. I love people. And that should not be happening in our deserts. Starving children having their arms measured to see how long it's going to take them to die. It shouldn't be happening. There should be food. That child should be well dressed. He should be well nourished. He should have meat on his bones. We don't see that. We're seeing that, like Austin said, homelessness are rising in his state, Utah, right? Austin is Utah. And we see that here in Mexico as well. It's growing because the prices are going up. The price of chicken's going up. The price of eggs have gone up. The price of gas is going up. People are upset. They're getting angry. It's only a matter of time before hostilities really, there's a big outburst of hostilities of people. It's only a matter of time. And my whole purpose in the Creative Society is to make sure that we get this implemented so I can see those very people who are struggling have smiles on their faces. Those people who are struggling want to live in another place. They can go and live without even borders or passports or visas holding them back. It costs money to have a good life. How can that cost money to have a good life? I mean, ask yourself this. Isn't having a good life that freedom of earning that money to have a better life, to have a garden, to have a small farm, to have a cottage or a home, however you want to call your home? Isn't this the idea? See, in the Creative Society, we have that idea because the idea is good. But in this consumer format, the idea of a person or millions of people for that matter, the homeless and even the addicts getting care that they need, in the consumer's format, this is not profitable at all. There is zero profit from giving away homes. Okay, zero. There is zero profit for sending a person. Well, no, there is profit for sending a person into a rehab for 21 days. But what happens to that person when they come out? There's a 95% chance, Austin, you know this as a social worker, that by the time they get back on the street, they've already hooked up with their old connections and they're back on drugs or alcohol again. This is the way it is. Where's the real genuine help? In a Creative Society, we get the real genuine help that we need. Yes? And the consumer's format is just not profitable. It's easier to send millions of dollars to these foundations. I say 21 days is good enough. We'll give them temporary housing is good enough. And then what happens after that? When they don't have a job to go to, they're back on the streets again. This is the way they funnel in money. This is the funneling money process. That's all it is. They don't care about life. But in the Creative Society, we care about life. I care about life. And I'm very passionate about the 8 foundations. What is the 8 foundations? What's the number 1 8 foundation? Human life is above all things, above money, above animals, above all things. And people would say, oh, poor animals. What do you mean by poor animals? Because if we as human beings respect ourselves, we respect animals. Am I correct? Absolutely. So we have safety and security in the 8 foundations. What else? Prosperity for all mankind, distribution of funds for all mankind. And I hope people who are watching this are really listening to what I'm saying. The distribution of all funds to every single person on this planet, not one man, woman, or child goes undistributed. Everyone gets distributed. Everyone. We as people in a Creative Society, we vote on every law that's implemented. We have our politicians implement these. And if they don't like what they're doing, if they don't want to implement these things, we withdraw them quickly and immediately, and they pay for the problems that they cause. That is just the way it is. In a creative society, everything is maintained by the people. In a consumerist format, the elite maintain everything, and the people must abide. Yes? This is the format we live in, yeah? In a creative society, I see freedom for everyone. I see children happy. I see barbecues on the street, you guys. That's what I see. And back in the 50s and 60s, before any of us were ever born or thought of, these things were happening before total control was completely taken over. Nowadays, we see in Mexico, we have metal doors we have to shut to prevent people from breaking in our homes. We have to, people build on the second floors and windows on the second floors rather than the first floor. Why? Because people break in their homes. Yeah? And this is the consumerist format, because people believe that I have to rob, cheat, and steal just to get ahead in life. In a creative society, they don't have to think that way anymore. In a creative society, the people know, we know that we're taken care of. I will know that when I die, my kids, when I leave them behind, that the creative society is implemented, my children won't have to worry, there's no problems. Everyone else who knows the creative society knows this as well once it's implemented. We know this, but do they know it out there? You know, they don't know it yet because not too many people are talking about it. People come in and join. Yeah, it's okay to support it. Yeah, it's fine. Before I did say, yeah, support, press the button. At least you show support. But now I'm changing it. Now I'm saying you need to start telling people. You need to get out there. You need to get you some flyers made. Make you a T-shirt. Put a sticker on the car. Do something. Do something. Because we could change this thing much quicker. 14 days, guys. You know this as well as I do. 14 days, we can have the creative society. 2 years ago, we could have had a creative society. 10 years ago, listen, 2 years ago, had the creative society been implemented 2 years ago, we would be sitting here in this discussion talking about all the beautiful things that are happening around the world. No. What are we talking about? We're talking about the consumerist format and children and people dying from endless wars, starvation, rape, murder, apartheid. What else are we talking about? The climate change. We're talking about drought, the shortage of water. That's what we're talking about today. Why is that? Why are we talking about this?
All the miserable stuff, right?
Yeah, all the suffering. So I know in a creative society that we can switch this up. We can change this game plan. We can flip that pyramid, which we're at the bottom, and place ourselves on top, you know? And that's I'm very passionate about. I love the creative society. I love the people in the creative society because we're always joyful, full of joy. Yeah, we have a tad of ourselves to the left, but it doesn't hinder us from the truth. It doesn't hinder us from trying to help people. So, you know, that's my take on everything. And that's why I'm passionate about the creative society. I have kids. Some of us here have kids. But 80% of the population in the world have children. Do they not think this is not going to affect them? Oh, boy. You know, we need to get the wheels turning, you know, because we're on the list, you guys. We're completely on the list. And it's coming for us all. But we can solve it.
Yeah, that's really true. Thank you so much, Ricky. And I just would like to say here, you know, that when we are talking about consumer format, it's kind of, as you mentioned, about 8 foundations of creative society, right? One of the foundation is truthful and transparent information for every person. And I just would like to say here that in consumer format, we forget what we really want. You know, we're kind of building big houses, maybe earning more money or something like that, forgetting what really we want in this life, that we really want that freedom, that we really want to have peaceful life and so on. So in consumer format, we are kind of being distracted and we are running for some false things, which are beneficial not for us in the end and not giving us that what we are striving for. And at the same time, I just would like to say that that creative society project, it's not just a project, it's that tool which allows us to create such conditions when we can stop, sit down and think what I really want, how I want to live. Like I have everything, I have housing, I have food, I have everything essential, peace and safety. And then as a human, I can sit and think how I really want to live. And that's actually when we come to this goal, to this point, it unites all of us. We all want to live, we're all humans. And this is that goal which can unite whole humanity. So yeah, that's a really important thing and that really concerns every person. I just would like to ask you, Ostін, as we just now talked about unity, about the role of every person, how you see benefits of unity, you know, we have thousands of organizations, we have so many people who really want to make change. But, again, we are like kind of thinking about the same change, but from different perspectives. So how you see this benefit of unity for every person and us as humanity?
So I believe that we all have more to learn from each other. And so everyone has a valuable perspective to share. And I think in order to solve the problems and the challenges that we have ahead of us, we need to know the lived experience of people who have suffered. We need to know the lived experience of all the people in the videos we saw, people who are starving, people who are struggling to pay bills, people who are the victims of natural disaster and are being failed by society. And in other words, they're just being failed by society. And so no one's coming or going to fix these problems. It's up to us now to take action and fix these problems and try to help these people. Here in America, we are so divided right now, and our media is so divisive, and it is always, I feel like, pitting us against each other. And as someone who grew up very conservative and now I am more progressive in my views, I know and love people on both sides of the fence. And I have people I care about on both sides of the fence. And I don't want to villainize them because they may see the world differently than me. I don't want to always be pitted against them because my view is different than theirs. So I feel it's important to start having dialogue again and start being able to have a conversation with someone we disagree with. It's okay to disagree and have that discomfort, but we're too busy fighting all the time that we aren't aware of these problems and we are not creating solutions. Instead, we're pointing the finger blame at this person or that person when really we just need to get in and get our hands to work and solve the problem. There's just so many issues, but I think the underlying issue is that we need to become critical thinkers again as a society. We need to take perspective from people as a society, and we need to have compassion. And like Ricky has shared, see these people as humans, not by their social identity, where they came from, or anything else, but really they are human beings, and we should want to help them because they are human and we're human and we care. That should be the biggest underlying factor, in my opinion. And to start solving this problem, that should be our motivation.
Yeah, that's thank you so much. When you said we are human, they are human, I just thought when we just think we are human, and it's our power, it's our potential, and these are our possibilities which we can have as humanity. And I think that's the point which can inspire every person. And instead of being distracted by something and fighting for some means, we can concentrate on that goal which we really have and how we really want to live. And today, right now, it's really the biggest problem that we are divided. And such things like competition, hatred, some alienation, they're kind of being promoted in consumer format. But every person wants to live as a human in peace, with dignity, in friendship, knowing people, getting experience, and so on. So isn't it the unifying idea? Is not that what can unite all people in the world? And if we really want to do it, if we really want to achieve such society, we need to really hurry up. We have this possibility today. We have already a model of creative society. And this is that model which can be implemented accordingly to laws of every country. And it can be done already today. This is just that model which helps us to reach the world which we want to see. And for that only, we need to inform every person on this planet. Every person should know that we have this possibility, that it's not a dream, it's possibility, and it's that need which we all have. And for that, dear viewers, please share this discussion, share information about forum, about Creative Society project. You can share it in your social media. You can talk with your family and friends. You can talk with people you know, or record your video feedback, or write an article about it, because it's really today we still have a chance to make a change, and we still have possibility to really live as humanity.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you again. And we want to thank our guests again for joining us and for, your inspirational actions also. Today you're acting as humans, and we're thankful for that. And I'm sure a lot of people got inspired from our discussion today, and I'm sure a lot of them would like to join. And if you would like to join to do more or become an official information partner of the project, please join us via creativesociety.com or write us your feedback at info@creativesociety.com. And also, if you would like to be part of these international discussions, please contact us as well, and on any of the of our official social media platforms, like in Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. We will be really happy to hear from you. And it's time to speak up and take action already today. Thank you for being with us today, and we'll see you soon. Thank you.
Thank you.